Okay, so welcome. And what we're going to be doing here is we have this linear system and a couple different ways that you can approach to solve this. You can use the substitution method, elimination, combination method. I'm going to choose to use the substitution method for this particular system. So what you have to do, the first thing when you're using the substitution method is you got to look for the easiest variable to solve for, okay? In other words, you have x and y over here. You have x plus 3y and 2x plus y. You have to find one of those variables and solve for the variable. Now, the easiest ones here would be the x in the first equation or the y in the second. Um, I'm going to choose that y in that second equation, and I'm going to solve for it. So over here, I'm going to go 2x plus y equals 6, and when I solve for it, I get y equals negative 2x plus 6, okay? So hopefully you understand what I did there. I simply subtracted 2x from both sides of the equation, and I'm going to put a little box around it because we're going to start and return um, to this equation right here. All right, now because I solved for the y in the second equation, what you're going to do is you're going to be using the first equation here to in your next step. Okay, so I solved for y in the second. You're going to be using the other equation, so that in that case it would be the first one. And I'm going to write that first equation down here, x plus 3y equals 12. And what you're going to do is you're going to replace this y right here. Okay, going to replace that y with this stuff right there, negative 2x plus 6. Okay, this is how we'll be able to get one equation in one variable. Okay, this is the substitution method in action. So I'm going to write this x plus 3. Now, not 3 times y, but it's going to be 3 times, and you always use parentheses, and you're going to put this stuff right there, okay? Because remember, y is equal to negative 2x plus 6, okay? They're equivalent. A negative 2x plus 6 is the same thing as y, and vice versa. So instead of 3 times y, I'm going to choose to put in that 2x plus 6. Okay, and that's going to be equal to 12. Now, you can see the advantage of doing that is now you have one equation with one variable. You don't have two different variables. And that's the little trick that we kind of played on this system, is just getting one equation with one variable, and now we can go ahead and solve for it. Get x plus negative 6x plus 18. All right, hopefully you know how to solve basic linear equations. If you're messing around with systems, you should have hopefully mastered this point. A lot of students sometimes have trouble. Go back and review if you need to. Okay, so I'm just double checking. Looks good. You can see here I can combine like terms. So I'm going to take care of that real quick. So I get negative 5x plus 18 equals 12. All right, and to solve for x, I still have to do some work here on this side of the equation. I got to subtract 18 from both sides of the equation here. Just taking my time. Notice I'm doing this in real time. And these problems might take you a little bit, a few minutes to do. So don't rush it, whatever you do, as you're definitely going to start making mistakes. Okay, so I'm just checking, see what I'm doing here. I like what I'm doing. I'm kind of auditing myself as I'm going, and that's what I suggest you do. So I'm down to negative 5x equals negative 6. So to solve for x here, I simply just have to divide both sides of the equation by negative 5. So I get x is equal to negative 6 divided by negative 5, which of course x is equal to 6/5. All right. Okay, so x is equal to 6/5. That's one part of our solution. Remember, we have a system here, a linear system, and graphically, what you have is like a line and another line. Okay, if there is a solution, the point of intersection is graphically the point of intersection is the solution. Okay, but this is also some sort of xy coordinate, and that's what we're after here. So this xy coordinate, this order pair, as we like to call it in math, the x coordinate is 6/5. So now we simply have to just get the y coordinate, And I'm going to go ahead and erase all this work here. So if you want to write it down, you might want to pause the video. I'm going to erase all this stuff right here. Okay, pretty cool eraser there. Wish I had one of those when I was in school. I just remember erasing so much that it would go through my paper and rip it. But anyways, another fond memory from middle and high school. All right, so anyways, we have y equals negative 2x plus 6. So remember this equation I said to write down? Okay, this is our first equation. We put a box around it. So we're going to start and end there. So I know what x is equal to. X is equal to 6/5. But now I need to know what y is equal to. But the cool thing is, because you know what x is equal to, you can simply plug in that value right here, and you can get y. So that's going to be y equal to negative 2 times 6/5. Okay, instead of x, you're going to plug in 6/5 because we just solved for that, plus 6. Okay, and now let's just go through to the basic arithmetic. You have negative 2 times 6/5. Another area where students hate are fractions. Unfortunately, just a fact of life when you're doing algebra is you're going to know how your calculator can't save you, when you're doing these fractions. A lot of students get their calculator, start turning things into decimals. Don't do that. Okay, so you have negative 12/5 plus 6. And of course, let's take a quick moment and simplify this. So that'll be negative 12/5 plus, okay, I can write that as 30/5, right? And now, when I add the numerators, I got myself some common denominators. I get, let's see here, 18. Sounds good to me. Negative 12 plus 30, a positive 30 should be 18, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, indeed. And 18/5 is good enough for me. You can turn that into a mixed number, but you can't reduce it. So our solution would be 6/5 for x and 18/5 for y. Okay, so there you go. That is the ordered pair, the point on the xy plane where these two lines that make up the system would cross, okay, or the solution. All right, so I hope this video helped. Sometimes, a lot of students expect nice integers or whole numbers as our solutions. Here we had to work with some fractions, but I think that was probably a good review for some of you. So good luck.